stop being a workaholic, eventually you are going to be hurt. You might have a clinical situation like being depressed. Good work, you work enough, you work hard, and then you say, okay, this is time out, stop. The other most important thing, I think there are three things that can help you turn around. It's from human desire and human nature, that we desire more, and the desire drives us. And I think that sometimes we just have to say no, because there are other things apart from that, And just for our viewers, I think it would be nice to know what is working hard.
Yeah, you can just tell us the difference between a hard worker and a workaholic.
Right. So I think that once it's broken, I think that most relationships over time can be mended. But if it's not, I understand there are many young people who reflect back and say that I had a workaholic parent.
Hi, and welcome back to the third episode of our podcast. Today I have with me Mr. Daniel Ponraj, who's back again.
It's wonderful to be here again.
Right, yeah. Today's topic is a workaholic and how that cycle of working, that obsession, can eventually lead to the destruction of a person's life and his relationship with others. Right, so yeah, I would like for you to start with
Yes, workaholic. Workaholic
Right.
is a person obsessed with work, and he's not able to say no, and he cannot stop, right? And so if anybody's watching this talk and they're looking inside, this talk is for somebody who is really struggling with the idea that they cannot say no, right? You work, you cannot stop, and suddenly you realize that something is wrong with you, and that is when you need to stop and check yourself.
So why would a person become a workaholic? How would they become
a workaholic comes from a sense of feeling that you need to, it's not enough, you need to be better, you want to be always at the top, you want to be successful.
So like a place of low self-esteem.
Yes, a place of low self-esteem. They just feel like it's not enough, and I need to be better than everybody else in my office. I need to work harder. There are some who have reached a peak and have to be there, and they just wanting to work so that they can be there, and they're just so obsessed with that position, either with the money or with the applause that come with it, and they just cannot say no. And that's a very difficult situation to be in when you're a workaholic.
So how does it affect being a workaholic?
Oh yeah, being a workaholic, first of all, if you cannot check yourself and stop being a workaholic, eventually you are going to be hurt. You might have a clinical situation like being depressed, or you can have a breakdown, like a burnout, or an extreme situation like a breakdown. And yes, and also it can be about, it can also affect people around you, right?
The relationships.
Yeah, relationships with your family, with your friends, but more so also your workplace. There are many people in the workplace who dread having a person who's like a workaholic. Imagine you as a student, you go into a class and there's a teacher who can never stop giving you work.
I would skip that class, I think.
Exactly, something like that, right? So you put pressure on everybody, everything around you, and people start dreading you. They just don't want to see you, right?
Yeah, me personally, I've never been the kind of person to work and just work. I need those breaks. I need that time for myself. Right.
And that's, I think, a good way to say work-life balance, right?
Yeah, work-life balance.
Good work, you work enough, you work hard, and then you say, okay, this is time out, stop, and then you go back and do other things that this life is made about, right?
So what about you? Have you ever been a workaholic?
Very truly, I think a workaholic, me, yes.
Okay.
And it's a very difficult thing, right? Because being a workaholic, it's very difficult to know you are being a workaholic if you're not listening.
How do you recognize that then?
You recognize that only when you can listen. It's hard for you to know yourself if you're a workaholic.
Alright.
Right? So if somebody tells you, come on, you're being a workaholic, then you suddenly say, oh, I'm actually a workaholic. This happened to me because I was constantly overworking, not being able to say no. And then people told me that, "Hey, you're a workaholic." I was like, no, I'm working hard. I'm a hard worker. I work
Right.
hard. I'm not a workaholic.
Right.
And then I began to slowly learn from inside, looking inside, that actually I was not just working hard, but being a workaholic.
So
I was
you
not
broke the
able to
cycle.
say no.
You broke the cycle.
And I broke the cycle.
That's good.
And just for our viewers, I think it would be nice to know what is working hard.
Yeah, if you just tell us the
Yeah.
difference between a hard worker and a workaholic.
Right. So, working hard, I think, is to use all your resources, opportunities, all the gifts and talents you have, and use it effectively towards a goal.
Right.
Right? Effectively managing your time, your resources, your capacities, and trying to achieve something. Right? And then that means that your time is being managed well, and you say, enough today, let me go out and do the fun things that I need to do.
Right.
But if you're a workaholic, you are not managing your time well. You're not managing your resources well. You're not managing your situations and the people around you well. And you're working, obsessed with something that you want to get somewhere or get something, and start overworking and not being able to say no. Yeah, and you result in that person that some ways is like a monster, being a workaholic.
So how would you break that cycle?
I think one is to listen well. I think without listening to people around you, I think it's almost impossible to look inside and just one day look at it and say you're a workaholic. And I think the other most important thing, I think there are three things that can help you turn around. It's like being a workaholic. One is, I think, to understand what is urgent work and what is non-urgent work. If it is urgent, it needs to get done. And I think when you start identifying that, you say, okay, this can be done tomorrow. Let's say no. Right? Identifying the one thing that you need to do quickly and urgently, and then going to the other one. And I think the other thing is to also find uninterrupted sections of time to work, right?
Time slots.
Yeah, time slots. You work, next 2 hours, find that slot, work hard, without distractions, and achieve it, right? And then you don't have to keep working. Right. So cram things into a short period of time, what is realistically possible, and doing it well. And the third, I think, the most important thing also is to value our friends and family and the life that God has given us, right? To value it and to schedule times for it, right? So I think sometimes when we're working, we don't schedule our time properly for things that are outside work, and so we're not giving them the importance that they need, or don't give them the time that needs.
Right. So I feel like if a person has been neglecting a group of people, like say their family, for way too long, how would they go back to making them feel valued, like you said, valued?
Oh, it's such a beautiful question. I think that one of the outcomes of being a workaholic is to have distorted relationships, broken, estranged relationships with your family and children. And I think that first of all, identifying and talking about it to your family, I think helps you. Talking about it that I've been a workaholic, and then help to schedule things to do together, right? Some things that we can do together. There's times you need for yourself, but also for others.
Yeah, that's right.
For your children, for your spouse, for your friends, for your people in the community. So I think taking those times out, scheduling them, I think is the second step. First, identify that you have a problem. Second, talk about it and try to find ways to reconnect with them. I think it will help us to overcome the broken, estranged relationships that have resulted out of being a workaholic.
Right. So that's what else? What else?
I think that at some point everybody has this going, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's from human desire and human nature that we desire more, and the desire drives us. And I think that sometimes we just have to say no, because there are other things apart from that, the success, the praises, the affirmations and the positions and the power. I think there's tempts a person, and I think it makes you, drives you to becoming overdoing things, so that it leaves you becoming a workaholic. Yeah.
Right. If I say I had a workaholic parent, or worse, two workaholic parents, I don't think it would ever lead to me trusting another person again. I would never be raising expectations. I would never expect anything from another person because I've been let down for so long.
It's very difficult, right, to repair those relationships.
What if they're unrepairable? Like they can't.
I think that once it's broken, I think that most relationships over time can be mended. But if it's not, I understand there are many young people who reflect back and say that I had a workaholic parent and that actually broke my relationship with them. And it very honestly leads, talking about families, and it leads children wayward, away, in a wrong path because you don't have the parents to guide them, right? So that's a very unfortunate situation for those families. But I think that if a parent is able to identify if a man or a woman working in a position of leadership and you identify you have a problem, I think it's completely liberating for that person to find alternative means to help, but also to find ways that can reconnect with those precious relationships that are so important.
That is very serious. I feel like we've spoken a lot today about what a workaholic is, and if you're out there listening to this, I would ask for you to reflect back on yourself, to reflect on your work, and to see whether you've been neglecting those around you. Go and ask, talk to them, make time. And like you said, there are 3 steps. If you could just repeat them.
Yeah, the one step is that I think you have to have understand what is urgent and what is not urgent,
right?
which helps you to say no when you have to say no, and also that when you work without interruptions, right? Then you get more done, and then you're more successful. And lastly, to say that I think you have to schedule time for your family and for your friends. Schedule them so that actually you get done and you can stop being a workaholic, right? And it helps you to say that, okay, my time up here, let me go and do something else. So
that is a great way to have work-life balance. And that is all for today. Thank you so much for joining us.
This is wonderful.
Thank you so much
for
for
this.
this discussion. Thank you.